Well, the haters gonna hate, 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 and the faker's gonna fake, 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 baby. I'm just gonna make, making luck, a Dominion podcast.
How much more important situational things matter, how the particular
Welcome to
situation
Making Luck,
are a lot
Dominion
more important
podcast.
than my inability to use words.
My name's Adam, and this is Wandering Winder. Hi.
Hi. Welcome to Making Luck, a Dominion podcast. My name's not Wandering Winder, but you can call me that anyway.
It's been a
And
minute,
I'm here
yeah?
with Adam. It's been almost a minute. In fact, I think it's been more than a minute since we started talking about this. Let's go!
It's been almost and more than a minute. I had pneumonia. I kind of still have it, and I'm going to try and not cough that much, but no promises.
I'm also going to not try and cough that much. I had something. I had a strep test.
Oh,
the
that's
strep test came back negative, and the
Oh, that's
doctor
good.
said, I think you have strep. So,
Nice. Nice. Things are going well for you.
yeah, great. So I've had some antibiotics, and
Oh, those are good.
yeah, mostly. Anyway.
Except when they're not. Yeah, it was a rough couple of months, really, because I think it was almost 2 months from when I started not feeling well, and like it really was, lungs and throat. So like a lot of times I can push through things and still do a podcast, but
Kind
in
of
this
hard
case,
to talk.
yeah, I was pushing through things and still going to work, which probably didn't help me get better faster, but
Yeah.
I was not really able to talk in a way that was pleasant to listen to. So yeah, podcast was just not an option, and I was just completely worthless. Like I just had no energy, and I feel mostly okay now. I'm still trying to get back into things, but like, yeah, it's really good to be back. I've played a little bit of Dominion since then, and man, it is really good to be back. Like I'm ready, man. My body is ready, mostly ready.
Thank you for listening to Horton Health, the newest segment of our...
Speaking of Horton Health, I mean there were a couple other things going on. I have like a pile of excuses for why I haven't been on a podcast in a really long time. Do you want to hear more?
No.
Okay.
I think our listeners probably don't either. I mean...
If you want to hear more, leave a comment in the comments section.
That's right. I'm sure you can DM Adam. He can give you all the juicy or non-juicy details as they may be.
Yeah.
But man, I'm just ready to talk about Dominion.
Yeah,
I mean, not
frankly,
that
I don't
care
want to
about
talk
you.
about
I
that
really
stuff on the
do.
podcast. Yeah.
I really do, man. But let's get
Yeah.
into the Dominion.
Yeah. So I would really like to think that there can be more podcasts on a somewhat more regular basis, but I don't know that either Wandering Winder or I is like able to do something that resembles an actual schedule at this point. Does that sound accurate?
Well, if whenever I feel like it and have some time is a regular schedule, then yes, I can
There you
do
go.
that.
So this is now Making Luck, a regularly scheduled podcast. I wanted to at least say a couple of things that are probably in the near future. There's a game called Slay the Spire.
Do.
Yeah, that game actually. It turns out that a lot of people who like Dominion also like Slay the Spire, and I think myself, Wandering Winder, and Jake are three of those people, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's definitely true. I think there's a lot more than the three of us, but
Yes.
considering you're listening to this podcast, we might be a relevant set of three people.
Yeah. And we may do a 0.5 episode in the future, hopefully with all three of us, but I know Jake really wants to do that episode, and he doesn't really want to do episodes about Dominion right now.
And I really want to tell him how wrong he is about everything in that game. So
I really want to tell him how wrong he is about everything in that game, too. And you probably want to tell me how wrong I am about everything.
Oh, most definitely.
Oh, yeah. So that's going to be a really good podcast. Hopefully that happens soon.
Almost definitely.
Mm-hmm. And this is episode 98, so there may be a nice round number coming up, and we might be doing something for that, too.
That's right. 110 is 2 times 55, and that's only 12 away.
Yeah, and I want to share something before we actually start talking about Dominion. I did have my record 55 record. I had that on video, and I did found a site called recordsetter.com.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah. So there are some pretty amazing records on that site. I think my favorite one is longest pronunciation of the word fresh while wearing a catcher's mask, sunglasses, and holding a blue helium-filled balloon.
.9 seconds.
It's pathetic. Easily breakable, by the way, but that's the world record. Anyway, I saw the Dum Dum record on that site, and I was like, wow.
It was like 20, right?
It was 30.
Like, okay.
It was 30. And so I submitted my thing, but it turns out no one's been doing anything to that site in the last 2 years. So that's really unfortunate.
It's dumb.
It's real dumb. Dumb. Anyway, so there was a kingdom you talked about last time, yeah?
Yes. And despite the slightly sexist nature of that phrasing, we're going to roll with it. Maybe at the end of this episode, we could have a queendom.
Okay.
I don't.
Nice.
Why is it like?
That was
It's,
good.
do you ever notice?
good.
And I know we're delaying the Dominion. # delay the Dominion.
Yeah.
Even more here, but like, it's the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and like, I love the UK.
They have a queen.
But they have a
though.
queen.
Yeah.
They've had a queen for like 60. So I should really know when she was crowned, or when she ascended. So like 63 years or something, right? Like,
Yeah. You'd think they would at least
more
like.
than that even. But anyway, like,
Yeah.
it's still the United Kingdom, and I don't like. She wouldn't say to change it because she respects her father and all that. But like, she is the longest-serving monarch in the history of that country. I
It
don't
just
know.
seems inaccurate to me to call it a kingdom when it isn't that right now.
I mean, it kind of is, because the generic term is kingdom, not queendom, and like queendom isn't really a word in English, and England, for which English is named, is part of that country. So I don't know. I'm not trying to say they should change. I'm just trying to say
The fact
something
that
to think about.
the fact that queendom is not a word just falls completely flat to me. Like, make it a
Probably is a
freaking word.
Is it a word? Let's go to the OED.
I'm just saying, like, if it isn't a word, make it a word and then call it that.
And I forget that the OED is paywalled, so you can't look up words on it. So let's go to
Ripperoni. Have you tried Wikipedia?
Webster's
Or
Dictionary.
maybe Yahoo Answers?
Webster's, you can search queendom.
That keyboard
Queendom
is amazing.
is a word,
There you go.
according to Merriam-Webster, and it's defined as 1, the state or territory ruled by a queen.
That
2,
sounds
the
like
position
what we're
of a queen.
talking about.
It sounds like the United Kingdom is currently a queendom.
Yeah. Leave
Anyway,
a comment in the comments section and go to our GoFundMe page for anyway. We don't have a GoFundMe.
No, we
you want
don't.
to talk about these 10
I
cards and
do.
2 other card-shaped objects?
Let's do it. They
Okay.
are Overlord, Tracker, Vagrant, Fishing Village, Market Square, Herald, Jack of all trades, Bazaar, Mountebank, Border Village, and those 2 card-shaped objects to which Adam referred, which are Windfall and City Gate.
Nice. Do you want to read that again for me?
No, but I will read it again for our audio-only listeners. That is Overlord, Tracker, Vagrant, Fishing Village, Market Square, Herald, Jack of all trades, Bazaar, Mountebank, Fishing Village, Windfall, and City Gate. And to that one person who always wanted things in cost order, I don't know how you feel about debt, so like Overlord, I just ran with it, but I apologize about setting Windfall before City Gate, because presumably you would have wanted it in the other direction. But anyway, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Did you
I
say
didn't think
Border
of it.
Village that time?
Did
I
I
think you
skip
said-
Border Village?
No, you said Fishing Village twice instead of Border Village. Anyway,
Anyway,
so
that's
you
the
were
kingdom.
talking.
Hopefully you heard it. If not, you can like use the little back button on your player or something, or catch it later.
We're
with
not
the
reading it
YouTube.
again. It's not
I don't-
happening.
Can you tell we've been doing this weekly and just not publishing it?
Yeah, it's been thankless, really. But So you said a couple of things last time. You were talking about Citygate. That was what the episode was
Partially
mostly
about.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said that Citygate was really good here, and if you could open with it on a 4-3, right? Was it 4-3 you wanted
No,
to open, or 3-4?
it was 3-4 because I
Dang
wanted
it.
to get the good chance at hitting mountebank on turn 2.
Okay. So on a 3-4, you would open with a Citygate, but
Yeah.
then past that, it's probably like
Past that, I
4-3
wasn't sure. I'd
Jack
probably get the
Fishville.
Jack Fishville and maybe get a Citygate later, or maybe I could get the Jack. Maybe Jack Citygate isn't that bad of an opening. I don't know. You know, like there's some options.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, you've played a bit with this kingdom, and I played a little bit with this kingdom.
Yeah.
You want to give your
So when I
feedback
saw
first?
this kingdom, I was like, "There's no way I'm opening Citygate here." On 4-3 or 3-4, I think I want to open with Jack and Fishville.
We built this Citygate.
Yeah, I think in some cases you end up getting a Citygate, but I think shoving Fishvilles in the deck is more important until you have like maybe 3 or 4 Fishvilles and possibly like 4 or 5 Fishvilles. Citygate is fine. I think it's good, but I think the main reason you would want Citygate early is if you really wanted to prioritize hitting 5 for Mountebank, right? And I think you would agree with that, right?
Unless you wanted to prioritize hitting 5 for Duchy or Bazaar, which you definitely don't want to do.
Okay, so I don't want to do those things either.
Or for
I
a
think.
windfall that will do nothing.
Oh yeah, didn't think
That's
about that.
that's even better than Duchy.
Actually, kind of is. But I think the difference here is, it manifests itself in how much we want Citygate early, but I think it really is about Mountebank. I don't think Mountebank is the most important thing here, and I certainly don't think I want to contort my deck by getting Citygate over Fishing Village just to hit 5 from Mountebank. Just because I think, you can just get like 3 or 4 Jacks and a bunch of Fishvilles and kind of be okay.
Yeah, so and that's basically all you did was just get as many fishing villages and jacks as you could, and at some point, like if you had exactly 6, you would get border village and jack usually.
Sometimes I would get Border Village in a like either Jack or Fishville. There were times when I would get gold. I think
When
I
you
want
hit
like 1 gold.
when
A lot
you
of
hit
times.
7 in 2 buys, you go like Jack Fishville because Fishville's better
Oh,
than
yeah.
Borderville.
Defo.
Yeah, you didn't mess around with Market Square. You didn't mess around with Herald. You got Overlord basically on 2-5 and 5-2 exactly.
Yeah, I don't think I want Overlord except for 2-5 or 5-2. And I think if you get 2-5, I think I do like getting Overlord turn 1 and just paying off 7 debt.
Yeah.
On a 5-2, I'm kind of torn between Mountebank Overlord and like just an Overlord in that case.
Yeah.
I'm still not really sure how I feel about it. Every time I ended up getting Mountebanks, which happens sometimes, I felt really bad.
Yeah. So I think after having played it a little bit, Mountebank isn't the most important thing here, but it's still kind of important. But the biggest thing is it's not super important to get like Zomg immediately.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to want Citygate if my opponent has gotten a Mountebank because sometimes I can do this punting curse trick. It's like a pretty small difference though, because pretty often, at least hopefully pretty often, I'm like playing a Jack and then I'm drawing or a border village and I'm drawing the card anyway. So like I'm
Well,
not
it does
really
help
punting the
you.
curse that much.
Punting the curse is still good in that case because it does like help you line up the curse with the Jack so you can trash it.
Sure.
So I
for
think
sure.
there's still
I mean,
more value in Citygate.
but I
that
think
case.
there's just like generally some amount of value in Citygate. So I think
Yeah.
on 4-3 I just want to open Jack and I think Fishing Village. On 3-4 actually maybe it doesn't really make much difference because I mostly just want a Jack anyway. I think I want Jack more than Fishing Village. So like there was one time I had 3-4 and I was playing against you and I didn't hit 5 for Mountebank, so I put a treasure down. So I only had 3 and bought a fishing village on turn 2, and then like got a Mountebank after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure I would have been much better off just getting the Jack.
Yeah, Jack is really good. If I
because
open
that meant-
Overlord, like I'm playing it as a Jack the first like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. So I think I don't want mountebank that much right off the bat. But what I'm not sure about is maybe Jack Citygate is a better opening than Jack Fishing Village. I'm not sure, because there is this other thing the Citygate does for you here, which, well, there's a couple things that Jack Citygate does for you. One is you make sure your Jack doesn't miss a shuffle.
Right, that is a big
And
deal.
like the Fishing Village on turns 3 and 4 isn't that big a deal, because mostly what I want is like a fishing village and it's like another fishing village and another Jack.
Yeah,
think.
I want like 3 or 4 fishing villages. So like the first one is not 3 or 4 fishing villages. Yeah.
Well, and the first one like isn't helping me hit my price points in a significant way, especially in a way that Citygate doesn't.
What price points are you trying to hit that early?
3 and 4.
Okay. I mean, yes.
Like I can hit 3 and 4 anyway. Is basically what I mean by that, right?
Yeah, man. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
No, that's what I mean. Like I don't need the little bit of money from my fish fill to hit what I want, because what I want is 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So like I think Citygate might be good there. The other thing where I think I might still be a little different than you is like I really like the first mountebank, somewhere around turn 5, 6-ish kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really think like, yeah, you can kind of deal with the curses and the coppers aren't the worst thing ever, but they still hurt a bit. And at some point, like if I have enough fishing villages and Jacks, the extra, relative utility of the 3rd Jack, and especially the 4th Jack, and the extra utility of, the 6th village or whatever, they really start to fall off. And actually, if you have enough fishing villages, you can like play fishing village and have a fishing village from last turn and play mountebank and then Jack, and you draw 1,000,000 cards, right? And it feels so like I really like getting a mountebank at some point, but they fall off pretty quick because they're, like the Jacks help you more, the fishing villages help you more, and like subsequent attacks are less powerful than the first ones, especially because they can like block the curses and whatever. So I might get a second one depending on how my draws fall, but I'm probably end up getting like 1 mountebank.
Sure, I could see getting a mountebank over like Jack number 4 and being pretty happy about that.
I'd probably get a mountebank over Jack number 3, but okay, that's not a huge difference.
I mean, the number of Jacks you want depends on how many mountebanks your opponent is getting. That's
and
a big
what
factor.
your draws are like, and yada yada yada.
Sure.
Did I point out the other thing you can do with Citygate, which is like just set up the thing you're skipping with your Jack?
I did a little bit of that, yeah. You
Which
can,
is
like skip coppers or whatever.
Definitely not a big thing, but it's nice.
Yeah, it is nice, and I've done it, and it was nice.
Yeah. Or like if you have 2 estates, you can skip one of them.
Yeah.
It's even nicer.
Yeah, estates are super dumb.
Or provinces or curses or whatever.
Yeah, man. Provinces are less dumb, but still pretty dumb.
Well, you don't want to draw them. Or you'd like to skip them.
Yeah.
You do want to draw them when you
so you can
with a tournament.
Yeah, if you want well, okay, yeah. Or an explorer.
Or a
salvager.
Or a salvager.
Yeah.
Or your opponent's tournament.
Yeah, man. Well, that was a good talk. Or you could pass it with Masquerade. So, do you have anything else to say about this kingdom?
Ambassador. Actually, that's a real one.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't have anything else to say about this kingdom.
Sweet. So we have an episode for you.
We do.
Yeah?
Yes, it's about a topic.
Yeah, it's about Dominion. And it's about Treasurer.
I'll read the card.
Yeah.
Treasurer. It's a 5-cost action card. It is from the Renaissance expansion. And the text of it is as follows. +3 money. Choose one. Trash a treasure from your hand. Or gain a treasure from the trash to your hand. Or take the key. Now, you're probably wondering, what's the key? Actually, you're probably not wondering. If you're listening to the podcast, you probably already know what the key is. Like, we wouldn't have to read this to you. But like, for those people for whom we read this card, you might not know what the key is. So we should probably explain what the key is. So Adam, do you want to explain what the key is?
Yeah, the key is an artifact, which means that it's a card-shaped object, but there's only one of it. So if I take the key and my opponent has the key, that means they they lose it, right? And it says at the start of your turn, plus $1.
Or euro if you're in the European Union, or
Or
pound
like
if you're in
a peso, or like a doubloon.
a doubloon. Yeah, it's probably a doubloon.
Yeah, yeah, it's plus 1 doubloon.
Yep.
That's what the key does for you. So, yeah, I think the obvious comparison here. Well, okay, first of all, during the Renaissance episodes that we did like a minute ago, I rated
like 55 minutes ago.
Yeah, about 55 minutes ago. I rated Treasure very highly. It was a 9 out of 10, and
Underrated.
it's real good. Okay, Treasure's very strong, and it may not seem that way because I think the obvious comparison is like, oh well, look, this is Moneylender, and it just costs $1 more. You
See,
get
to
$3.
me, that's not the obvious comparison, but I guess it is to some people. I don't know.
Yeah,
your mileage may vary.
Moneylender's a 6 out of 10, and this is more expensive. And I mean, I am going to tell you that the most powerful thing in general that I think the card does is trash a treasure from your hand.
It's hashtag flexibility. You're right, Adam.
Yeah. It's because Treasure can do other things,
right?
And that matters. And why does that matter?
Well, because being able to do other things is really good, especially because those other things are really good. And for instance, because you don't need to have more crappers for this thing to make 3 money.
I think that's the biggest thing that makes it immediately better than Moneylender, because even without those other two options, Moneylender, you have to feed that Moneylender a copper in order to get the money. And here, even if you have coppers and just choose to keep them around, you can actually make $3 from this card. And,
right.
and I've played a lot of decks where, like, well, I've got extra buys floating around, and I don't want to trash this Moneylender because he's here, and I want the payload. So, like, yeah, I end up buying coppers to feed my Moneylender so I can hit my price points.
Hashtag copper is good.
I mean, but that's sad. Because I would rather just, like, not buy the copper.
Not have to draw the copper with the Moneylender?
Yeah, and then I still get all my money. And that's great.
Right. Also, it has these other modes beyond that, which is what really makes this, like, a great card instead of a really nice, good, solid card.
Right, yeah. I actually think the second most powerful mode of this card is gaining a treasure from the trash to your hand. And I would say that even without better treasures in the trash than copper, just having this option in the end game to, like, spike price points, or even threaten to spike price points, like, that's really good. And I actually think that's the most underrated mode of the card.
Like,
I think it's
having a terminal action that makes 4 money for 5 cost would be, with apologies to Harvest, pretty reliably make 4 money for you.
Yeah, I mean, when I can... Wine Merchant, I remember for a while during playtesting, Wine Merchant didn't have the buy.
Yeah.
And it was still really good when you could, like, play a lot of them.
Right, because it approached being 4 money.
Right. Like, if I play my third Wine Merchant, it's making me an average of more than 3 monies. So, 4 monies for $5 is just great. And, the downside of, quote,
gaining a copper is pretty bad, but you know what? Sometimes it doesn't really matter that much.
I mean, sometimes hitting the price point makes your deck better enough to where that better thing plus having to have another copper in your deck is still better than not having that option.
Almost definitely.
Yeah, for sure. It's why cash is a good card. JK.
It's why cash is sometimes a good card.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So I really think that taking a treasure from the trash is great, even in the abstract, without other things that make it a lot better.
I think it's more that taking a treasure from the trash if you want to, but not being forced to, is great.
For sure.
If you had to take a treasure from the trash every time you played this, it'd be a lot worse.
I suppose. It would be better in kingdoms in which there was a way to later trash those treasures that you took from the trash. Golly gee, if only that was true of Treasurer.
I mean, if only you could guarantee that there would be a card in the kingdom that could trash treasures.
Yeah, it's a shame we can't. But anyway,
There's also
it's
another mode,
yeah. There's the key.
the key.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why don't we talk about the key because I think
key
this is pretty
is the
interesting.
key to success.
I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't say that either, but I just
Okay,
did, so I guess I would.
nice,
It's
excellent.
mostly fun to say more than it's good advice. Um, no, so okay, I also think that like quote unquote the best or almost default. I don't know that I would say default mode is trashing your crappers, and
Okay.
that like the great hidden power is gaining treasures from the trash. And I don't know how hidden that is. I don't know. A lot of people are pretty turned on to that, but
Well,
um,
if that's not something that you think is amazing, then it is hidden.
and you think
And
wrong,
now, after listening to this podcast, you've seen the light.
or the
Welcome.
darkness, because the I don't know. Are you doing video that's like how light is it in your room there, Adam?
It's pretty good. I mean, the fish tank is in the background and the lights are still on, and then I've got these lights on the ceiling here that are both illuminated, and there's Doggo sleeping on the floor. She's golden in color. Yeah.
Anyway, I actually do think the key is great. So I guess I should talk about why. And I want to
Yes.
compare it to Canal. And
Yeah.
like Canal is amazing, right?
Canal's pretty good.
Yeah, Canal is fantastic.
I don't think
Um,
I would use the words amazing or fantastic to describe Canal, but sure.
anyway, the point is like the key making one money every turn is really good if you're buying one thing every turn, right? So,
Yeah.
like an extra money every turn is a lot. Like towards the beginning of the game is most often when this is mostly true. And well, to be fair, thinning is more important than two. So like we'll get into, do you take the key? Do you trash? Do you what mode do you take? We'll get more into that in a second. But like if you just think at the beginning of the game, having an extra money every turn is going to make it to where you're going to be hitting five probably like the big majority of turns, because you already had enough money to get a treasurer and you have an extra money, and like you don't need that much more money density beyond having one extra money per turn and your starting cards to suddenly be hitting like five close to every turn, and after very long you're hitting six an awful lot.
Mm.
And like that's pretty good if you're buying one thing a turn, right? Where the
Sure.
key, where the key is,
Especially, yeah, go ahead.
where the key is less good is when like, okay, so I've built up, I'm drawing a bunch of cards, I'm probably drawing my deck, I'm buying four things a turn that cost a total of like 20 money. Then like, sure, one extra money is nice, but kind of doesn't make that big of a difference. So like in that situation, sure, I'd rather have the key than not, but it's nothing to write home about, right? So go ahead and
Sure.
say what you were about to just say that I didn't interrupt you about.
No, it's fine. I've already forgotten about it. I did want to say
Yeah,
something else. So if you got to keep the key and you
yeah,
could have it all of the time,
right.
I certainly think the key would be a lot better. Now, this is the hard hitting insight that you're going to get from Making Luck, a Dominion podcast, a John Madden podcast. But
Boom.
I actually do know how much better it would be because during Renaissance playtesting, there was a project before Canal that was called, I want to say it was called Citygate
Thing that will
or
later be
City
called the,
State. City State is what it was called. In any case, it was too good to be costed at 6.
yeah,
So and it
but
was 7, and then the key came along, and it was like, well, we don't want Canal to be the same thing, so sure, let's mix it
right.
up. I think that was the thought process. It's that good, like it's really really good, and it wasn't just good in money density decks. I mean, that's good in every deck. It's
Sure. It's just you feel like an extra money. Don't get me wrong. Even when you're buying four things that cost 20, like an extra money that you didn't have to draw is nice. It's just not like Zomg amazing.
yeah, it's not Zomg amazing in the same way that I don't know the other two modes of treasure might possibly be.
or that like if you're not drawing a lot of cards, the key actually is. Like,
Yes, and I think there are two reasons for that.
yeah,
Reason number one is something that you really have talked about, and the other reason is that you're there's only one key, right?
it's like
And
the Highlander.
yeah, it's just like that. There's only one key, meaning that you actually have a shot at keeping it for a
Right.
decent amount of time because if you're not drawing a bunch of cards, then chances are your opponent may not be playing a treasure every single turn.
Right.
And I think that's another part of the equation that in money density paradigm makes the key more powerful.
Right. But also, so I guess we should start to get into like, do I take the key or do I trash a copper?
Yeah,
And
it
answer
makes
is
trashing less good too.
the answer is
Great
it
segue.
depends.
Yeah.
But right, so the thing is, one of the reasons why you would more like to take the key would be if your opponent has the key, because now I'm not just getting the key, I'm also denying my opponent the key, right? It's like
Mhm.
a 2-for-1.
I actually think denying the key can be a lot better in a lot of
But
situations.
but the thing is, right? So like if I made a play that made my opponent make the play where they're denying the key as opposed to doing what they otherwise would have, then there's some value in that. Right? So like basically what I'm saying is if the key is so good that they need to take it from you, then it makes it look like, well, it's good to have. Like you want it because it's so good that you're making them take it from you, right?
I
And
I
then you go
actually
back and forth, which is it is an oversimplification. It's not 100% true. It's not like the full double value, whatever. It's just like I don't know, 80% extra value as opposed to
it's
100% extra.
it's
You're gonna
funny
tell me it's only
because
55% extra.
well, of course I am because it absolutely is. It's funny because during playtesting there was a different group, not my group, but a different group that I was reading reports about that was like the key is busted.
Mhm.
No one ever trashes a copper with this because the key is so good that everyone takes it. And myself and I think a couple other people were like, that has not been our experience with the card. The card was not changed as a result of that.
Right.
And I think,
I say
I,
right like I know. I have no idea other than what you just told me.
well,
I am not a
uh,
play tester.
the card, I'm telling you, the card wasn't. It might be in the secret history somewhere too. But I think there are two situations for this. You're either in money density paradigm where you don't plan to draw a lot of cards, or you're planning to draw a lot of cards. And if
Right.
you're gonna weigh taking the key versus trashing a copper, um, I think it behooves us to talk about those situations separately. As I mentioned, if you're not drawing a lot of cards, trashing is probably a little less good. Taking the key is probably a little better, and also denying your opponent the key is better. So
Right.
I think all the things point towards more towards taking the key in that situation. With that said,
Well, I think since we're talking about this, I want to get into the last big important point about how you're deciding between the two, which
okay,
is
I'm gonna let you finish.
does the one money that the copper makes me significantly change the quality of card I can buy this turn? So, right, like if trashing the copper makes me hit 4 instead of 5, and the 5 I would get is much better for my deck than the 4 would be, then it makes it relatively better for me to take the key and buy the good 5 than trash a copper and buy the much less good 4, right?
Yeah, and actually, that's most of the time when I find myself taking the key is that I don't really want to do either of the other two options, and this is my consolation prize. I know that's a much more pessimistic way of looking at it than what you're saying,
It's a
but
really good consolation prize.
you're right, it is. It's like the consolationist of consolation prizes. That that doesn't make sense.
But I'm gonna let you finish because I interrupted you.
Oh yeah, thanks, brah. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so if you're not drawing cards, all those things point you in the direction of hey, this is better for the key than it is for trashing a card.
Right.
Even with all of that, I still think that in a lot of cases, without much else going on, that trashing a copper is abstractly more powerful for a couple other reasons. If I trash that copper and the next time I would have drawn that copper, I draw a silver instead, then that's kind of like the key, and it's only for one hand.
Kind of
But
like
that effect, what?
one hand, but like if you're not drawing cards, that's like one hand, and the key was like three hands or something,
Well, okay, so just one copper,
right?
maybe not the same, but that effect does stack. And so if I'm going to trash more and more coppers, then that effect is going to become, I mean, it's more and more over the course of the game.
But the key
I
also stacks, Adam, because
I really don't think it stacks.
if you trash, no, here I genuinely do, and here's why. If
Let's
you're
hear this.
trashing, no, because you're saying it stacks because I trashed 3 coppers over 3 plays, right?
Okay.
Right? So you trashed 3 cards, it stacks. But like I had the key for 3 turns, so I bought 3 better cards than you bought.
Okay, so right, you have to weigh how valuable is sending a card versus putting a better card in your deck. And I think that's something that we kind of abstractly weigh whenever we're looking at a kingdom and deciding which paradigm we want to play in,
And
right?
I think it really does make a difference, like how much you're trying to draw versus you're just having pretty close to 5 card hands.
Definitely.
Because if you have 5 card hands, first of all, the key effectively makes you more money because like you measure time and shuffles, and if you're not trying to draw, you're probably going to have, like 3 hands per shuffle, 3 turns. It makes you 3 money per shuffle, right? Whereas if you're trying to draw your whole deck, the key only makes you 1 money per shuffle, right? So it's like in that way, it's kind of making you more money if you're not drawing, right? On a per shuffle basis.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So obviously, the flip side to that is, if you're thinning, you're shuffling more often. It's like a time machine, right? You're speeding up time. And if you're
That's hilarious. I like that.
if you're thinning, you're drawing your deck, you're seeing everything more often. Like the effect of just not having to draw as much stuff is just so much bigger in that case because it actually lets you like draw your deck.
Right.
And so it just gets to be a much bigger deal in that situation. And like, if you can draw, you usually should draw. But the key is a thing that can sometimes let you get away with not drawing more effectively than most other cards in the game. Like, I'm still not saying it's a thing you should do very often.
Yeah,
right?
the way you phrase that, I don't disagree with, but I just want to point out that like he did say it's better than what you could do otherwise. I don't think the key existing and being an option on treasure is something that's gonna say, "Oh man, maybe I should play that money density deck."
No. It definitely helps with that money density deck,
Yeah.
but like it's not like taking it from a 2 to an 8. It's like taking it from a 5.5 to a 5.8.
Oh, I thought you'd say 5.55, but I guess that's fine.
Which is like it's not nothing, but okay, let's not get carried away here. If you
Sure.
can draw, you probably still want to draw. At least if there's like, ways to get multiple provinces in a turn. If there's a way
Right.
to draw but not to get multiple provinces in a turn, then the treasurer might be enough to say, you know what? I'm not going to draw. I'm just going to make a bunch of money fast.
Sure. I think so. We've talked a lot about this money density part in the key, and of course that makes sense to do that. What about in applications where players are drawing most of or all of their decks each turn? How does the key play there?
Mostly you pass it back and forth so that your opponent doesn't get it.
Yeah, and I do think denial is a much bigger deal there. Not only because the stuff you mentioned before, but you have a very much more specific idea of what your opponent's deck is capable of.
Well, it
And
also
so if it will hurt them to not
it
have
also
that dollar.
really fits into that. It's the check. Is the one money really important? So you can know that pretty reliably if you're both going for this kind of thing. And also, it falls into that consolation prize category where is thinning important right now? Like, maybe I still have a copper or two left, but like I'm drawing pretty reliably anyway, so who cares?
And I want those monies for this turn.
Right.
Yeah.
And well, or I'm going to want them next turn,
Right, yeah.
right? And like in that situation, also fairly often, well, gee, if I'm drawing my deck well enough for this, should I be taking more payload by, taking a treasure out of the trash? This is something I
Yeah.
want to mention about that gain the treasure mode. Like, trashing coppers is really good early. Gaining an extra copper every turn, if you're drawing super well, is a way to just keep ramping your payload. It's not like a good way to keep ramping your payload in an abstract sense, but like, I have 15 money in my deck, and I really want to be double provincing. I could buy another payload card, or I could just gain a copper out of the trash and not have to buy another payload card, right? Like
Yeah.
if what I really need is exactly one more money, then why not gain a copper? It's just like cheap. It's a lot freer than having to buy some other card.
Yeah,
Right?
especially because you can have that copper right when you play the treasure. You don't have to plan to turn ahead and like buy a
Right.
copper and then risk the additional dud chances
I mean,
because
you
you drew
probably
that
risk the
copper.
additional dud chances the next turn, but
Well, yeah, but you're hitting that price point right away. You're getting
right,
immediate benefit. It's
right.
definitely a lot better than like
And
thinking about buying a copper.
like, okay, risking the dud the next turn is still better than risking it this turn and the next turn.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Um, so yeah, gaining treasures. Let's say you get to a point where you've started to draw, and it's real easy to shove extra draw stuff in your deck, right? You can. I don't know how you're doing it exactly,
You
but
can
it's
you can
pretty easy
haggle
for you
labs.
to haggle labs. Like you're haggling 2 labs every turn or something. Like gaining a treasure every turn. I don't know. There could be a lot of different ways to gain more.
And that doesn't mean it was a mistake to trash those coppers in the
No, because
first place.
you needed your deck to come together first, right?
Yes,
But at that point, adding an extra copper isn't as bad as it was before.
for sure.
You still want to check, like, is this the most efficient way to do it? Am I actually getting use out of this extra copper that I'm regaining, et cetera, et cetera? You don't just want to like blindly say, well, I can afford to draw it, so I might as well take it. Because, right, every copper you take in most cases is still going to hurt your chances of drawing your deck somewhat, right? So like if I add a copper, even if I add 8 labs to my deck, right, it's harder to draw my deck than if I didn't have the copper.
Yeah.
Right. So like, yeah, if I'm adding 8 extra labs to my deck, it's probably not going to be a big deal, but
That's
it's
so many labs.
if the money really just doesn't help you at all, then don't take the copper.
Yeah.
But there is another big part of gaining treasures from the trash that I want to talk about that we haven't mentioned yet.
Can I just put this right in here before we get there?
You can.
The one thing there, I want to tie this back to the key before we move on. So if I'm thinking about taking the key to deny it to my opponent, and we had talked about like there's $1 is going to help my opponent. You can actually think of it as $2 in some cases because your opponent may decide to gain a copper from the trash instead of having to retake the key if
They
they
might have
decide
to,
they want that.
you have the key.
Right,
And
but
they're
you
gonna
don't.
have the key the next turn also.
But so like you can force them to take a copper and maybe have to deal with that. But also you've completely denied them the option of having the key and then also
Taking
gaining
a
the copper.
Right.
Right. So just a point on the math there. Let's talk about how treasure is totally busted.
Well, also, gaining a better treasure, which is something that happens in a non-trivial percentage of games, right? It's
Yeah.
treasures get in the trash other than just coppers for a whole mess of reasons, right? Like it's pretty fun when you can gain some of like the heirlooms from the trash. We'll get a little bit more of one of them later, but like even gaining a pasture from the trash, oh, be still my beating heart. Like I love me some pastures. Um I don't know
That
how
cursed
the
gold,
trash
man.
got in the pasture got in the trash to start with, but like maybe your opponent was foolish and treasurer to trash theirs, or maybe you hit it with a bandit or something, right? There are ways to do it. There are ways to do
Yeah.
it. Maybe you hit their goat with a bandit, and now you're like, I want some double-barreled
Oh.
goat action.
Oh
right?
man.
Um,
Hashtag double-barreled goat action.
Hashtag double-barreled goat action. Um, but so then there's yeah, but the bigger part of gaining treasures from the trash, um, I mean, the biggest part is coppers because those are most frequently there. But the other big thing is trash for benefit cards, right? You play an apprentice, you trash a gold, you draw 6 cards, you play a treasure, you take the gold back. Maybe you have another apprentice, so you apprentice the same gold again, rinse and repeat, right? Or maybe you don't have another apprentice, or you don't have plus action, so you're just gaining the gold back, so it's not in the trash for your opponent, and you have 3 extra money this turn. That's
Well,
really
yeah,
stinking good.
you get to spend the gold, but
Yeah,
then also that gold in this case, if you're going to use it with apprentice,
yeah,
is actually part of your deck control. If
absolutely.
you want to draw cards, you want to draw that gold. That's one of the two very important pieces
Right.
of the way you're drawing cards.
And gold
So
is like
so like
one
it
of the best
matters.
things to apprentice in a lot of cases. And if you can regain it back easily, man, that's really good. It's not just apprentice though. Like you could do a similar trick with remodel, right? You have a billion extra plus actions, you remodel gold, you play treasure, you gain gold back. You play another remodel, you remodel gold, you get another province. You play another treasure, you gain gold back. Salvager, same thing, right? There's tons and tons of trash for benefit, even like forager, right? You trash your gold to the forager, your foragers make more money now. You play a bunch more foragers, you gain the treasure back, the gold back in this case, from the trash with your treasurer. Your opponent's foragers don't make more, yours do make
Ah.
more. And like that's a play pattern that comes up more than you might think.
And it feels really good to do
It
that
feels
particular one.
amazing.
And really, I mean, we're all just playing Dominion to have fun. So you know what I always say: if it feels good, do it.
You know what I always say?
What?
I don't know. There aren't things that I can think of that I always. There
Oh,
probably
come
are
on!
things that I
Just
say
like
always,
quote the
but
Princess Bride,
true
or have
love
you tried
is the
winning?
greatest thing in the world, except a nice MLT mutton, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. That's not really me saying it. It's like, Miracle Max, and I'm just quoting him. So,
Have you tried winning?
oh, I do always say that.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
also not
That's
something I came up with, though.
that's what you're known for. I didn't come up with if it feels good, do it. No one really comes up with anything anymore. It's
There's
just not
nothing
a
new
thing.
under the sun.
Rip.
I also didn't
Yeah.
come up
So
with that.
yeah. So like trash for benefit. It reminds me a lot of like their mint plus remodel as payload. Counterfeit also, that's trash for benefit, and it reminds me of games where there are decent treasures in the trash, but it's a little less good because your opponent gets first crack at it. Or like trashing attacks, if there's knights or something
Yeah,
flying around, treasure's a lot better. If there's anything better than copper in the trash, if there's just a silver in the trash, treasure's $5 or more.
right.
I mean, we were talking about how nuts $4 is. $5 is more than $4.
Or like maybe it's the end of the game and you trashed your cursed gold early because cursed gold sucks because you really don't want curses. But like I really need to make $6 right now. Gee, I'm gonna take the cursed gold, and I don't care about the curse as much because the game's ending.
Yeah,
And
and
you usually do want to trash your cursed gold because cursed gold sucks.
yeah, so that brings me to a point. Like we spent a while talking about how not awful copper is
Yeah,
in a lot of these situations.
I
If
mean
you're
it's
gaining
pretty awful
something,
in a lot of situations, but yeah,
yeah, well, I mean that's how not awful it is.
sure.
But in any case, if you're gaining something better than copper, like that downside is much worse. I would have put in quotation marks before, but I don't think I would even call it a downside. Like just gain a silver, yes please. I love
It's more like
silver.
a clown
Silver's a good
side.
card.
Yeah. Having said that, some of the other like pretty rare, but they do come up cases that I want to go over is sometimes you use treasure to trash things like silver on purpose because and it's exactly for the same reasons as you might trash coppers, except like, or you might not take the coppers, right? Even like I'm drawing pretty well. It's the exact same thing here, right? I'm drawing pretty well. If the silver isn't actually making me useful money anymore, like I'm gain limited, right? The only extra gain in the kingdom is the pouch. And like if I randomly hit Forest's boon, great, I can get a third buy, but I'm not going to count on
Woo!
that. So like I have 19 money, I don't need the extra silver anymore because, right, I have 19 money, but I can only ever spend 16 at once. So now, like, because I want to keep drawing consistently, I'm more inclined to trash the silver, right? It was useful, it did its job, but now it isn't helpful anymore, right?
It's better
Like,
to have loved and lost to have never than to have never loved at all.
you might say that, and you
Yeah.
also wouldn't have come up with that hashtag quote that we stole. Um,
Yeah, man.
but yeah, like sometimes you do get to a point where like the silver isn't good anymore, or it's like I was playing a game the other night where, or maybe it was comment. Anyway, I got to this game the other night where it's like I was really trying to play a lot of bridges at once, um, but the draw was really thin. Like you could hardly draw at all. So I was like, I have to gain these extra silvers at various points, and now I want to trash them, right? Because they get in the way of me colliding my bridges together, which is something I really wanted to do. And so I started trashing some silvers. Like it's not something you normally do, but there are some weird cases where you have very powerful incentives, and this can be useful there, right?
Yeah, treasure's nice and flexible. Moneylender can't trash your silver, bro.
Right. The other thing that is on the somewhat rare side, but does come up, is sometimes you gain a treasure out of the trash because it's the only treasure or the only treasure of that kind that's in the trash. Even if it doesn't do anything for you right now, you just need to deny your opponent the ability to take it, right? And this could come up like it more often comes up if there's like 1 silver in the trash and like 10 coppers or something, and the 1 silver being your opponent being able to get that is significantly better than them being able to take copper for them. Like maybe you're not using the money this turn, and usually if you're not using the money this turn, you don't want to take the silver out of the trash because like you could do it later, right? And you don't have to, if it's not useful right now, you can do it later. You don't have to draw the silver in between, right? All that stuff. But if gaining the silver would be a good thing for your opponent, maybe you gain it to deny it.
Because silver's a good card, right?
And if there's only one, and if there's only 1 copper in the trash, you might do that there also just to deny your opponent being able to spike 4.
Wow.
That doesn't come up very much because, well,
that's
mostly
like super edge case with Wandering Winder.
Mostly because there's, usually more than 1 copper in the trash is the biggest reason.
Yeah.
Or, well, no, there's usually more than 1, especially because you don't want to do this early, probably.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, if everyone's going for fountain points, though, got to get those coppers.
Well, then I probably just want the copper.
Yeah.
Because I love me some fountain points.
Yeah.
So, but beyond those like weird edge cases, there's some like fun crap you can do with treasurer. You want to talk about that a bit, Adam?
Well, I think my favorite thing to do is magic lamp.
Yeah.
But that's probably just because I like magic lamp so much.
Well, also, who doesn't like to empty the wish pile?
Yeah. You can get unlimited wishes.
Well, no, you're limited because there's a limited wish pile.
Yeah, but you can return them to the pile.
Well,
you can wish for something and then...
Right, but like, how are you playing that many treasurers?
You get infinite time.
Okay, great. Over infinite time, well, but you have to gain something when you play the wishes. So you also need like the ambassador to return the stuff to the supply. Yeah, something that returns stuff to the supply.
Yeah, no bigs. We're good. Don't worry about it.
I guess
in terms of...
We should explain the magic lamp in case someone hasn't understood. So, like, when you play your 6th differently named card in a turn and it's named magic lamp, or when you play magic lamp and there are at least 6 uniquely named cards in play, including the magic lamp, you trash the magic lamp. Notice you trash the magic lamp and you get 3 wishes. So I've trashed my magic lamp. Now I can play treasure to gain it back, right? Because there's a magic lamp in the trash.
Oh, yeah.
And then I can play magic lamp again later, and I get more wishes.
It's pretty hot. Yeah.
And like with the next lull, which is capitalism, you do this multiple times a turn. Also, if you really want to get super lull, you're both doing this because why wouldn't you be? There's treasure and lamp on the turn on the in the game. So like, and maybe especially if there's capitalism, I'm not going to return my wishes on purpose because I want to make sure my opponent can't get more. Hashtag wish denial. Hashtag this never comes up. Hashtag but it would be cool.
So, in all seriousness, out of the heirlooms, Magic Lamp is the only heirloom that I've ever had.
Biggest one, but
it's the only one I've had come up in a real game of Dominion.
It can realistically also come up with Haunted Mirror, to let you get more ghosts. I'm not
maybe.
super high on ghosts in general.
That's never happened to me.
I wouldn't really do that much, but that is something that you can do. You can get extra ghosts in a game because you can regain the haunted.
Yeah. So I think this is interesting. Like, yeah, I mean, we can talk about that capitalism, storyteller, Mandarin, treasurer, infinite combo.
Right.
But and that definitely
you work it out yourself. Hashtag left exercise to the reader. Hashtag.
Yeah, I didn't work that out myself, but it is a thing. You can draw cards with it, so that's pretty cool. But I mean, we can talk about that, but like that's never really helped me win a game of Dominion before, right? And I think it's interesting. Like, we talk about Citygate even, or like a lot of the stuff here, or like certain applications of the key and like what matters, and like differentiate when it matters. Yeah, I think in terms of practical advice, though, we were chatting about this a little before the episode.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of practical advice, I can tell you what I've seen a lot. Now, I'm bad at everything, so maybe that doesn't ring true to you, but
don't say that, Adam.
I guess everyone's bad at everything. And I've just learned as I get older that it's so important to know what you don't know, because no one knows anything. And at least if you're aware of it, like, you can...
Definitely not... I think that's a bit hyperbolic.
I really don't.
I know that 2 + 2 = 4. Dang it.
Okay, good for you. Good for you. I'm happy for you. Great.
I know that my mommy loves me.
I know that too.
You know that my mommy loves me?
And that my mommy loves me.
Oh, that's
shout outs to mommies. Mom, if you're listening to this podcast, leave a comment in the comment section. Spoiler alert, she's not.
Also, other moms, just like, you don't have to be our moms, other moms. You're great.
If you're a mom and you're listening to this podcast,
leave a comment in the comment section.
I want to hear from you.
If you're a mom, it's not like anyone's ever told you what to do before.
Oh, seriously, let me tell you something that's frustrating. We're getting really off topic here, but I don't care.
You've never gotten off topic before on Making Luck.
It's never happened before. So, if I go out with the boy and I'm in public, like in a store, and I'm interacting with him because he's my child and I like him, and we're enjoying each other's company. Other people, they see that, and I've even gotten comments, and people say like, you're a really great dad, and I thank them to be polite, but like, no one ever says that to my wife because she's a woman. And like that's just expected of moms.
She's a really great mom, but everyone expects you to be a really great mom.
She's a much better parent than I am, like, objectively speaking. And we're past the point where the boy is physically dependent on exactly her for sustenance. Like, we've been past that for a while, but like, well, also, I go to work all the time, and she spends a lot of time with the boy, and that's really important, and that's kind of like her job. But even independently of that, she does a lot more than I do related to, and it's frustrating because like, she sees other people comment towards me, and no one does that for her. And I do, but I'm one person anyway. Do you have anything else to say about Treasurer?
Yes. So, capitalism lull. I mean, you could do some weird stuff that actually has like no application. So like with Tomb, right? Tomb in capitalism, you can play a treasurer to trash a treasure, and then play another treasurer to gain the treasurer, and then play another treasurer to trash another treasurer, and then play another treasurer to gain the treasurer back. And this counters actually the pirate ship capitalism combo to a large extent, because as long as you have like one treasure in your hand, then you can just gain all of those treasures, the other treasurers back, right? So I have like 6 treasures in my deck, and I just use one to gain the rest of them back and play them, because capitalism. So it's great. Although also in that situation, maybe your opponent has pirate ship treasure capitalism, and they trash your treasures with their pirate ship and then play their treasures to gain them back. So it actually gets more complicated, and the actual best thing to do is really unclear, and it gets like really
It would be to draw cards, I think, in that situation,
like
right?
you probably do need to draw cards, but you can maybe do that, right? So like I don't know,
Yeah.
it's just really weird and crazy. And I once saw those 3 cards in the Kingdom together, and it just like was like, what? But I think treasure is more important than pirate ship, but you might want both. Anyway,
You use the word combo to describe pirate ship capitalism, and I know for a long time I was like doing a lot of pretty heavy playtesting and
Yeah.
theory crafting about whether or not I wanted to use that word to describe pirate ship capitalism. And
Yeah.
while it is a big deal and a looming force, and it's something you definitely need to think about, I
Yeah.
didn't give it combo status because
Well,
it
it's
just
not-
didn't have that oomph
Sure.
factor on enough boards.
The pirate ship capitalism hashtag significant synergy.
Oomph factor. Thank you.
I mean, it just doesn't roll off the tongue. I'm sorry.
Menace?
Menace?
Yeah, that.
Anyway, like whether you want to call it a combo or not, like it's something to think about in a lot of cases and stuff. But like treasure kind of throws a wrench in it, and that's like not something like it's a 3-card combination, and it's happened in a game already.
And it was so cool.
Well, actually, I don't think that it came up in the actual game. I was just sitting there looking at it and thinking about it. It wasn't a game I was playing. But it's as close as we'll ever be, because 3-card combos don't come up, man.
Welcome to Making Luck, a 3-card combo podcast.
I'm jonesing for a 3-card combo here. Anyway, do you want to go to an end kingdom?
Yes, please. So we have a kingdom, and it's got treasure in it, and we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the cards now. This kingdom has Apothecary, Native Village, Settlers, Steward, Swindler, Procession, Salvager, Distant Lands, Idle, Treasurer, and it has Triumph and Palace. One more time for our audio-only listeners. Apothecary, Native Village, Settlers, Steward, Swindler, Procession, Salvager, Distant Lands, Idle, Treasurer, and we have Triumph and Palace.
Palace.
Also known as Palace. So, I rolled one kingdom, and Wandering Winder said he loves this one, and I think I know why. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because it has Swindler in it.
Actually, not why. I think this would actually... I generally do like Swindler. Well, I certainly like Swindler more than most other people I talk to.
Okay.
It's not my favorite, but I don't mind it so much. This is one of the kingdoms where I wish it wasn't there, because I think it's just going to get in the way and just randomize things up, like people often complain about with Swindler. And I mean, it does look good here because you want 5s, and turning them into Duchy is Sad Panda Holanda.
And it is Swindler too, so it's usually good.
Probably want at least 1 4, and you could turn the 4s into potions, which won't be so good, especially after you trash your coppers into curses, because like the Apothecary is not going to be that great. But
Yeah.
you could trash a state into a state, which limits Triumph, and
Yeah, man.
it's all just kind of weird. So like without Swindler here, I'd be thinking about, well, I could use Treasure to do the whole gain and trash thing, which normally doesn't matter except for like weird tomb cases. But like with Triumph, might actually be a little bit of a, you got a couple extra points. Although more likely, if by the time you're going for Triumph, you're just going to like go, okay, well now I'm going to gain 4 coppers this turn to help my Triumphs, right? And okay, the other thing about Triumph is it's a little bit hard to get off enough buys to get multiple Triumphs in a turn. You can do a couple with Salvager, but how many things are you salvaging? But on the other hand, Salvager also has a combo with Treasure, because you can gain a thing and then salvage it, or salvage it and then regain it. So that'd be something worth playing about. Settlers Border Village, a bit worse because of Swindler, maybe. Procession also works with Triumph. I mean, Triumph looks really good to me here. Like, really good.
So, you certainly do have some stars in your eyes about Triumph.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Salvager,
Yeah.
and I see a clock on the game, right? And
Potentially.
I'm also looking at. I mean, I think the biggest thing that helps Triumph out here is Procession,
Yes.
because I think it's the best village on the board. I mean, Bustling Village is
You can
great, but it's
get to
hard to
Bustling
get.
Village, but
Yeah.
like I don't want I want Settlers less than normal because of Swindler.
Sure. I
Because the
agree.
Settlers get swindled into estates. Ugh. And I'm gonna have fewer coppers because they're gonna get swindled. I mean, they're gonna get trashed by my treasure, and they're gonna get swindled into curses by your swindlers. So it's like, but yeah, go on.
So I'm just trying to envision that deck, and that deck really wants villages and draw. I'm looking at those resources. Other than Bustling Village, it's really hard to come by, right?
Well, you could do
there's
like
Procession.
some native village steward stuff.
So
but
you're thinking of like a mega turn kind of thing?
If I could get to it, but I would definitely go for that if Swindler wasn't here. Because Swindler is here, I think I'm mostly playing like some Swindler, some treasures, a treasurer. Palace is helping me a little bit with this because like normally I might like idle maybe about as much or more than gold, but here I definitely want gold more between Palace and Swindler, because like gold gets swindled into gold, idle gets swindled into duchies, and then later distant lands. Distant lands when they might not have time to play the distant lands. So I don't really know, but I'm probably going like Swindler, Silver, saying trashing looks too hard, and I'm just going to swindle you out and getting a treasure at some point.
Interesting. So I think I want to trash. I definitely want to open with a Steward. I'm kind of between double Steward and Steward Swindler, and I'm leaning double Steward, to be honest. I also see Apothecary Native Village, and I'm like, ooh, I want to do that, but that's just not going to be good.
I don't. Yes. The issue I have with double Steward is that I would expect to get my terminal space is going to be a problem.
Sure. That's.
I guess Native Village is there for you, but
I'm thinking Procession.
And you're going to process your stewards into salvagers
processions.
Or processions.
I don't know. I don't really think I don't really think Swindler is what's going to crap on the Triumph dream here. I'm still pretty close on it.
You like the Triumph dream?
I'm not sure. The thing is, if I invest in trashing, I don't have to decide. I can like put good cards in my deck, and I can use them to either play a bunch of Swindlers, or maybe I can use them to just gain a whole bunch of cards and get a Triumph and do cool things. Or maybe I can do them to put treasures in my deck and buy provinces.
I think drawing is a little bit hard, so that hurts the Triumph deck. I think Swindler makes drawing harder, and that hurts the Triumph deck. And I also think Swindler is going to lower the amount of estates that are left, and that's going to hurt the Triumph deck. And
I wouldn't call it a Triumph deck. I'm calling it a deck that can Triumph.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to make it hard to effectively score like a lot of points out of Triumph in such a way that can compete with somebody who's provincing without also needing to get basically an equivalent amount of provinces.
I'm thinking it can make up a 5-3 province deficit, and I would call that a success with Triumph.
I think it's going to be kind of hard to do that.
All right.
Not also using like, a couple distant lands or something, then yeah. Okay.
Now, I can't tell you how any particular game is going to play out.
Oh, they're all going to play out differently given Swindler, right?
Right, but I am going to tell you that makes me want to open Steward. And I definitely want to open with at least one Steward.
Okay. I'm going to ride the Swindler.
Yeah, I guess I need to think about, like, Steward versus Steward Swindler. I need to think about, like, if they don't collide, do I want that second one to be trashing more cards, or is like there a price point I want to hit? And I guess I don't want the treasurer that much super early.
I
So
want the
like
treasurer that much super early. I'll love me some treasurer.
I don't know, I think I'm okay waiting on it. So yeah, I guess give me the second steward. I'm not positive about it. That's what I'm gonna go with.
Can you imagine what capitalism would do to this? Is like one of the best capitalism boards I've ever seen.
10 out of 10, man.
I don't. Okay, well, this is another discussion for another time. Podcast is too long already.
Hashtag triggered. I got you, man. Anyway, what do you think, listener?
Listener,
How you doing, listener? Are you driving right now? Are you wearing your seatbelt? Huh?
are you a passenger in a
Are you
vehicle?
wearing your seatbelt?
Are you wearing your seat? Are you in one of those school buses that doesn't have seatbelts on it?
Why does anyone think that's okay?
Hashtag who wants higher taxes?
It's not about taxes, it's about people not dying.
I agree with you, but
Oh,
I'm telling you, that is why it isn't. That's why there's still a thing.
Welcome to Making Luck, a politics podcast. How is that a political issue? Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section if you want to talk about that or this kingdom. Do you think what I said is hot garbage? Do you think what Wandering Winter said is hot garbage?
Do
I
you
want to
think
hear about it.
garbage?
Whatever temperature of garbage, we really want to hear about it. Hopefully, we're gonna have
Garbage in a dumpster, which is on fire.
molten garbage,
No, cold.
cold molten garbage.
Cold fire.
Okay.
It's a cold, flaming dumpster, okay? Deal
Welcome
with
to Making Luck, a cold flaming dumpster podcast. Hopefully we're gonna have some. Hopefully we're gonna have some more episodes for you coming up. Hopefully you can still listen to them and leave comments in the comments section.
And if you've got any more suggestions on things you want covered, please do let us know.
Yeah, I mean we have a list, but if you want to hear it, we'll probably do that first, or put it on the list if it wasn't already on the list, and then maybe do it first.
So you could check out the forums, adamhorton.com. You could check out the Discord. You could check out the YouTube page that this is on, or Adam's channel. That's youtube.com/AdamHorton01.
Yeah.
You could check out my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/WanderingWinder. You could check out the Northern Lights if you went to a latitude where you can see those. You could check out the Southern Lights if you went to a latitude from which you can see those.
Sounds lit.
You might think that based on the name.
That's right. Yeah, thanks for listening. Hopefully next time isn't too long from now.
Or if you're listening to this in the future, maybe the next episode is like right now because we've already published it. Oh yeah.
That sounds great.
And I'm for sure know that you are listening to it in the future because you're listening to it right now. I know that you're listening to it right now. In fact, actually, but like I know that you're listening. Yes, you think I'm not talking about you. You think I'm talking to another listener, but I'm not. It's actually you. I know that for sure.
Yeah, and I'm just reminded of something Mr. Rogers said because I finally saw that movie, and we love you just the way you are.
We do. Honestly, I think people need more of that in their lives. More Mr. Rogers and that message in particular.